give us your journey to Shia Islam.
I wasn't necessarily satisfied with Christianity. I was actually first drawn to the religion of Judaism.
Are you ready, inshallah, to
All right.
repeat after me? Now, let's speed through Lady of Heaven.
Mashallah, the whole film was really great, really inspirational. My wife and I were both very emotional. I'm getting a little emotional even now talking about it. Really, really powerful movie, a mystical experience.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are back, dear brothers and sisters. And we have on the line Brother John from America, who has found his path to Shia Islam. He will be narrating to us his journey to Shia Islam. Brother John, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thanks for having me on. So I want to say, first of all, I actually called because I had a question about the Lady of Heaven film, which I was privileged to see yesterday. And it was concerning the depictions of holy personalities. And I want to say I didn't even realize that it was CGI, which I think is a testament to just how masterfully it was done. So just mashallah, the whole film was really great, really inspirational. So, you know, we live in sort of a remote part of the country. We had to drive about 3 hours, but it was well worth it. So,
mashallah. So what we'd like you to do is give us your journey to Shia Islam. All the events that took place. How you first came about to it, or how did you first know of a religion called Shia Islam, and your journey up to you watching the Lady of Heaven film, and from there we'll conclude, inshallah. The ground is yours.
Okay, yeah, inshallah. Okay, so so I'm from America. I was born in Florida, and my family are Christians, you know, just regular Christian people. And I was, you know, interested in religion and interested in God from an early age. And I wasn't necessarily satisfied with Christianity, or at least how I was presented, for two reasons. One, I didn't feel like it was necessarily a pure expression of monotheism. You know, I have yet to figure out the math equation where 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. And the other reason is that you know, Christianity, as it exists, especially in the West today, is very watered down. You know, you see a lot of like lack of seriousness with practice. You know, like the Christians originally were like us, you know, a lot of fasting and praying and rules about modesty and conduct and all these things. And a lot of that sort of just gone out the window in the postmodern age. So I saw that, you know, what I saw in church and how I saw in conduct wasn't necessarily reflecting, you know, the Bible or how I felt that it should be. And I was actually first drawn to the religion of Judaism when I was a young person. You know, and I'll be honest, like especially where I was living in America, you know, people did not have a very good perception of Islam. There really weren't that many Muslims around. It almost would have been unthinkable. So I was studying Judaism very, very seriously. And after high school, I actually moved to New York to a very, very religious Jewish community, and was going through the process of conversion to Judaism. And you know, in retrospect, I really just wasn't sort of mature enough to undergo things like, but the reality of it is that there is a process to convert to Judaism, so to speak, but you can't really become Jewish.
Of course.
And you know, even most Jews themselves aren't even aware of this. I mean, the rabbis, I'm sure, are, because it's in the text. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean. And of course, I've been studying for years, and I was very close to converting, and I learned all these things like, for example, a convert, he can't become like a religious judge in a religious court, whereas someone who's born Jewish can. A convert is allowed to marry a person who is born in illegitimate circumstances, you know, what would be technically called a bastard, where again, someone who's born Jewish would not be allowed to. A convert, when he dies, if he doesn't have Jewish children, his property is, you know, sort of just up for grabs by the community. And a lot of just things like this. And so basically I realized I couldn't be Jewish. And it was really hard for me, you know, because was sort of how I had convinced myself to think about religion. And I basically, at that point in my head, I was, well, like, okay, if Judaism is not for me, if it's not right, then, you know, maybe there's no religion. You know, that's what most people seem to think, you know, astaghfirullah, like maybe I should just be a regular agnostic or atheist and just go on about my life. So I tried to do that, you know, for a while, and, you know, did the rebellious American thing and grew my hair long and had a motorcycle and all that nonsense. And I was back back in my hometown, and I had, you know, reconnected with, you know, a friend who lived in my neighborhood that I grew up in. She was a girl that I went to high school. And, I knew, that she actually, was a Muslim and had been like a Shia Muslim. And I didn't really know anything about it and wasn't necessarily interested because it was very foreign and all that. And her father actually, noticed me in the neighborhood, and he noticed the way that I was, dressed, and because he had seen me, undergoing this process of conversion to Judaism when I was dressed in the garb of like a Hasidic person. And he was, very curious because he knew the family wasn't Jewish, and he just started asking me these questions, and I told him about my, failed conversion to Judaism. And he didn't really say anything about religion at this point. He just started inviting me around, maybe having me do odd jobs at his house or things like that if he needed help, or just talking about history or things we were interested in. And, but then slowly but surely he started introducing me, before anything dogmatic or theologically, started introducing me to the personalities of Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasallam. And I was just really impressed by this, and sort of saw in these personalities an inner life, sort of a mysticism that I didn't necessarily associate with Islam. And just started studying it more, and it really, really resonated with me. And it took me some time of like studying, but then alhamdulillah, eventually I made shahada, and I've been.
How long did it take you? How many years?
Not even years, maybe like 10 months, something like this, from the point that I like really started studying. Because I wanted to make sure I didn't want to make an immature decision.
So that means after a certain number of months you kind of knew already, and then you spent further months. How long during those 2 months did you kind of feel like, this is seemingly the truth, but I want to just
actually almost instantly, and it was more of just sort of like a mystical experience, but I just wanted to make sure that I could make it jive intellectually as well.
MashaAllah.
What were the books that you started to study? As in, how did you manage to know from where to read and from where to acquire your journey of research to find Shia Islam?
This uncle who lived in my neighborhood really helped me a lot, and sort of introduced me to the rough concepts. I'm still learning. I try and take from a lot of different sources, and again, be open-minded. I watch your show occasionally as well, and I ordered just recently a book that was recommended to me, or that was recommended on the show, the Hakul Yaqeen.
Yes.
But I've benefited from that.
That's good. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Now let's speed through The Lady of Heaven, its release, the first time that you heard of the movie, and then come to its release, and then actually watching it, and amongst the first to watch the film, actually.
Yeah. So I didn't. I'm a little bit out of the scene. I'm not really on social media that much, and I didn't hear about it until fairly recently. It was maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, something like this. I heard about it. I think it was just actually just on YouTube. It was just a suggestion to me, like the trailer for it, and immediately noted that there was some controversy surrounding the film from whatever camps, but personally felt very strongly that it was going to be something really good. And I noticed it was being made by a major motion picture company, and it was going to have good effects, and really felt that it would have a really good big capacity, like for dawah, for one thing, in the West, for the non-Muslim people, and also but just to educate people about the history of what happened, about with these personalities. We bought tickets in advance, a couple weeks ago, and again, we live in Oklahoma, which is sort of a rural part of America. It's right about as close to the middle of the country as you can get. And the closest screening was in Dallas, Texas, which is again about 3 hours. So my wife and I drove yesterday, and mashallah, again, it was so worth it. It was, and it was inspirational from a religious thing. You learn so much. My wife and I were both very emotional. I'm getting a little emotional even now talking about it. And my wife was talking about it, and I want to just mention this on the air. One thing that was mentioned, that you would mention on the show in the interview, was just how inspirational this is for modern women to see this story of the lady, and because this personality, this like the nexus of the imamate and the prophethood, and just the significance of that, and her strength and her character, and just sort of what that means for women, still to the day. It's just really, really powerful movie. I sound like I'm almost rambling, but it was just good. I can't even put it into words.
Give us an insight as to the atmosphere that the cinema had upon the screening of the film.
Yeah, it was in kind of in, I guess, the last theater, kind of a smaller room, and everybody in there was Muslim, and it wasn't packed. There was a few families. Everybody within it was Muslim, and also everybody incidentally was Desi. My wife is also Desi, so that helped. It was like a very home environment. You hear the kids talking in the background and all that. But everyone was just, and I looked around because everyone was just enthralled. People were just really moved by it, and there wasn't a dry eye in the theater. The same thing as my wife. People were very emotional. And again, I have to say again, it was just so masterfully portrayed, because I called to ask a question, and I didn't even realize that it was CGI. It was that well done.
Yeah, what was your question exactly?
Well, so the question that I asked is that it noted in the introduction of the film that there wouldn't be actors, like specifically portraying the holy personalities. And I mean, from what it looked like, it was just actors, albeit
you
very
thought
attractive
it was actors,
actors.
and you didn't realize it was CGI.
I thought it was actors.
So
my wife and I both thought it was actors.
I guess it answers your question then.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was but like I said, that's just a testament to how well done the CGI is, because I couldn't even, and and just the way that when I close my eyes and when I think of the Prophet and when I think of the Imam, like these are the faces that I saw, even before this. So it's just
so you as
something
a
really
now,
special in this film.
Sorry, well, you as a convert, do you feel the CGI done justice? Because this is some of the things I'm seeing online about, portraying them, and was it done in the right way? Seems like you've taken a very positive feeling towards how they were portrayed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. Well, like I said, because I thought it was an actor, and I was thinking, I was like, where did they even find that actor? Because again, like when I close my eyes, like this is what I imagine the Prophet, So yeah. And again, I think it was addressed in your interviews that so often this is done where you just see just the light or their faces screened or something like this, which from a cinematic standpoint that doesn't cut it, and especially like to a non-Muslim audience that would be very detracting from the film. But the way this wasn't at all, and was still done in a very reverent way. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the film.
Sorry, John, I want to press you a bit. Tell us more about how the film impacted you. I want you to really let the audience know in as much detail as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say this, like I had gone in, just getting a movie, and I got, like popcorn and stuff like that. And like, there was a certain point where I felt like inappropriate, like just watching it as a movie, because it feels sometimes almost like a majlis or something, it's
something holy, you feel, of course, with the lady
exactly
being presented.
Yeah. And especially those, those scenes, so the scene with the Ahlul Bayt under the cloak. Yeah, even oh, I'm sorry, I guess I'm not supposed to say what specific scenes are in the film.
I think that's known now.
Yeah.
Hadith of the cloak.
Okay, yeah, maybe yeah.
It's in the trailer,
but anyway,
actually, a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
Okay, right. But it was just, even talking about it now, just goosebumps on my skin. But it really did feel like a sort of a religious experience, even just watching the film. Breathtaking, yeah. And and even like this, so this is my and I'm hesitant to say this on the show even, but you know, my wife, like she grew up in a family like from the other sect, and she's you know, learning and has definitely changed some of her opinions with revelations of historical realities. But especially for her, the film was just really, really, you know, powerful, and she, you know, really feels, you know, this connection to, you know, the lady alayhi salam. And you know, she actually asked me if we could get, you know, a painting of the hadith and of the cloak to put in our house. So I was like, okay, yeah. So
if you haven't checked the Lady of Heaven website, there's a shop there and they launched recently, so you can actually buy different pieces of clothing and things with stuff from the film.
Yeah, I definitely will. And I just want to say, you know, wholeheartedly, I support the film. You know, I can't say it strongly enough. I support the Lady of Heaven. So.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you, dear brother. Thank you very much for this insight.
You want to do the
Shahada, yes. Yeah. Is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
we'll do it. Okay. Let us now, inshallah, as a form of re-announcing your Shahada, to declare your stance with Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Are you ready, inshallah, to repeat after me?
Yes.